Welcome to the world's #1 fitness business podcast for health club owners, gym managers, and fitness entrepreneurs. As always, this will be a great show as we have another expert to help your fitness business and your career. We'd like to thank our premier sponsor, Active Management, for supporting us, and we highly recommend becoming a member of Active Management to strengthen your business in 2016. There are loads of resources members receive, so join the Active Tribe today at www.activemgmt.com.au. Now that's enough from me. Let's welcome the show's amazing host, Chantal. What's on this week's show?
Hi Harper and hi everyone. It is officially our 1-year birthday. What an incredible year it has been. Over the past 12 months, our tribe has grown so strong. We've had over 31,000 downloads of the show from all over the world, including Australia, USA, New Zealand, UK and Asia. As a listener of the Fitness Business Podcast, you are part of a global tribe of fitness business owners, managers, and professionals that invest in strengthening their business. Thank you so much for tuning in each week and for telling your friends to listen to our show. On behalf of myself and the incredible team behind the Fitness Business Podcast, we also want to acknowledge our guests for dedicating their time to helping others on their business journey. We definitely would not have a show without our guests giving their time. So thank you so much to all of you. To celebrate our first birthday, we are bringing back the top 4 most downloaded guests over the last 12 months. We have Michelle Segar, who first appeared on show 33, Tim Keatley from show 25, Casey Conrad from show 31, and Bill McBride from show 6. Not only do we have these amazing guests coming back for a visit, but we also have a very special birthday present for all of you. So make sure that you stay tuned right to the very end of the show to hear more. Before we chat to Michelle, I want to say a big shout out to our fantastic sponsor, Tribe Team Training, the complete small group training business system that's helping clubs make more money without having to sell more memberships. To find out information, check out www.tribeteamtraining.com.
This month, we have an awesome prize for people who subscribe to the show notes at www.fitnessbusinesspodcast.com. or engage with the Fitness Business Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or even emailing us. Do it and you may be this month's winner. Now it's time for this week's guest.
It sure is, Harper. This week I chatted to Michelle Segar. Michelle first appeared on the Fitness Business Podcast in show 33 when she talked about her book, No Sweat. This week, we caught up again, and this time we chatted about an exciting new project that Michelle is working on that converts ideas from her book into a social media campaign. She talks to us about a new quiz that she's developed to help people understand their own motivation profile. We discuss the future of activity trackers. It's really interesting to hear her views, and she tells us what she believes they're going to include in years to come. Plus, she leaves us with 3 great tips to action straight after this week's show. Okay, Michelle, are you ready to Fitspire our global FBP tribe of fitness business owners and managers?
That would be a big yes.
I love that. And are you ready to overload our tribe with pearls of wisdom, strategies for success, and tips to make them better leaders and business people?
Yes.
Fantastic. Well, let's get stuck into the show. Now, tribe, Michelle Segar, and I'm sure you've heard of Michelle before because she was a guest with us earlier in the year. Michelle is a motivation scientist and author of critically acclaimed No Sweat, How the Simple Science of Motivation Can Bring You a Lifetime of Fitness. She's director of the Sport, Health and Activity Research and Policy Center at the University of Michigan and chair of the U.S. National Physical Activities Plans Communications Committee. That's quite a mouthful, Michelle. Now, No Sweat was chosen as the #1 book in diet and exercise in 2015 by the USA Best Book Awards. And when released, it achieved the #1 selling exercise and fitness book on Amazon. Michelle has a doctorate in psychology and master's degree in health behavior, health education, and kinesiology from the University of Michigan. Now, there's something that I missed last time I read your introduction, Michelle. You ran with the Olympic torch at the 1992 Olympic Games in Barcelona. That's
yes.
How was that?
It was heavy. It was heavy.
Was it? What an amazing thing to have done in your life. I mean, you've done many amazing things, but that's very, very cool. Welcome back to the show, Michelle.
It's great to be here.
Now, before we get started into your first question, I should just warn all of our tribe, and I warned Michelle already, I record the podcast from home, and I am the proud mum of two very big Rhodesian Ridgebacks. And it's 7:30 in the morning here, which is normally our walking time. So if you hear some excited barking or excited dogs in the background, I apologize in advance because my two furry children are anticipating a walk after this interview. So that's what that's all about. Now, Michelle, in your bio, I gave everyone a bit of a taste, and I cut down that bio because there's lots more that you've done in your career, and just that alone is incredible. I mean, in that time, in all of those amazing things that you've accomplished, have there been any hurdles on your road to success?
Oh, absolutely. I think there are always hurdles. And, you know, in one of the 5 questions you asked me, what was the best advice? And it's so hard because you can't just pick one, right? Yeah. I think we all face challenges at different parts of our lives. And you know, I had hurdles in graduate education. What school should I be in? You know, I've had hurdles in testing. I've had hurdles in industries. When I first started out, I showed kind of the experts in the physical activity world what I was thinking about and what I was researching. And, you know, I didn't get the kind of interested response. Now, it's interesting to think about the fact that when you're doing something new, if society isn't ready for it, there's going to be a problem. And so I think timing can be a challenge. I think which doors open can be a challenge. So I went to different doors that opened easily. And interestingly, you know, now 2 decades later, 20 years later, the fitness industry, exercise researchers have come around and understand the science behind and the different science that was really leading the way 20 years ago. So those are the types of things that I think we all face. And that's why tenacity and persistence is so important if you truly deeply believe that what you're doing and what you're discovering is important for the world to know.
Oh, I love that, Michelle. And I actually wanted to ask you, when we did your quick fire 5 questions last week, one of the things that you said to me was that you accidentally discovered your why. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Absolutely. So it was when I started my first master's degree in kinesiology at the University of Michigan. And my mentor, who was actually a physiologist, let me pursue my interest in exercise psychology. We were doing a study with cancer survivors, and the purpose of the study was to see if exercise could, you know, improve psychosocial outcomes like anxiety and depression. That's what we were seeking to discover. But fortunately, I had a mentor on the team who said to me, you know, Michelle, we really should have focus groups and conduct qualitative research after and talk to people. And it was during these focus groups that we knew already, the data showed that exercise significantly reduced depressive and anxiety symptoms. And we were among the first studies to show that among cancer survivors. But what happened in these focus groups was that the people sat around and talked about how amazing exercise was for their health, and almost no one was doing it. Wow. And it was that issue that shocked me and compelled me to say, well, you know, when I asked the participants, well, why? I heard you talk about exercise. I heard you smile. I saw you smiling when you were talking about exercising. Why aren't you exercising now after the study's over? Oh my goodness, do you have a whole day? I've got to go to work. I have, you know, things to do. I have people to take places. I have aging parents and kids. And what became very clear to me that this truly was not an issue about exercise. And that's one of the biggest issues. And I almost wonder if it's hidden a little bit in No Sweat because it's in the middle of the book. But what I've discovered over the years and what led me to my why was that these cancer survivors felt comfortable prioritizing their own self-care through physical activity when they were participating in our study and giving us data for our research. But once they stopped, everything else and everyone else was more important than their own self-care through exercise. And so that's truly what got me on this path. I decided I am going to solve this problem. And I took that charge seriously. And, that's why I got all those extra degrees and have kind of approached my career path in the way I have, because it hasn't been to achieve anything other than solve that problem.
That's absolutely fascinating, Michelle. What an amazing story. I should mention at this point that just in case there is any members of our tribe that haven't yet read No Sweat, because we will be referring to it throughout the chat today, you can jump onto Amazon. We'll make sure that we put the link for Michelle's book in today's show notes again. And also, if you want to go and check out our original interview, which was show 33, you can go and we delved into a lot of depths around the book in that particular show, so you can go and have a listen to that as well. Michelle, tell us what is coming now after publishing No Sweat. What's happening next?
Well, what I'm working on currently is taking the principles that I describe in No Sweat and scaling them in different situations. So scaling them so in individuals, professionals in healthcare can use these principles while they're counseling patients about self-care behaviors like exercise, sleep, dietary change. Something I'm super excited about, which came to me unexpectedly, was a health system approached me and said, we want to take No Sweat and convert it into a month-long social media campaign and program. And so we just finished that up, and it's actually officially launching next week.
Wow.
The University of Vermont Medical Center in the United States. And that has been a fascinating project because social media is such a different medium than the type of work that I typically do. So it was really fun and creative to think about, how do we divide the content over 4 weeks? And how do we then really divide it into minuscule posts on Facebook and Twitter? And what kinds of questions can we ask the participants to help them internalize the principles, even if they're not talking to a coach or reading the book? So that's been really fun to work on.
Tribe, a quick interruption to let you know, I asked Michelle if we can all tap into this social media campaign that she's just mentioned, and it's called Everything Counts. And she's very kindly sent us through the link, which you can find in today's show notes. Okay, now back to the interview, when I've just asked Michelle what other exciting projects that she's got coming up.
One of the things, I think we never stop learning who we are and what we want to be, no matter how old we are and where we are in our career. And I have a few papers that are coming out in the next year that are showcasing the research that I've been conducting, qualitative research, looking at how we should be talking about exercise, how we should be talking about physical activity, and especially how should we be talking about walking when we're promoting it, to get people to link these things to the things that matter most to people. I think I think in society in general, we've made a huge mistake. We haven't done it purposefully, and it's logical that we've done it this way, but we've approached promoting physical activity in very medicalized ways, very logic-based ways, weight loss, better health, disease prevention. But in fact, for the very reasons that those cancer survivors were not prioritizing their own self-care, we need to show people how physical activity can actually help them feel better in the moment every day and fuel their priorities so that they can then justify taking the time to do it. So new things that are coming out, this research will be published and available to the public. I'll be announcing it when it comes out through my newsletter. And I'm also really into developing programs. So I'm working with large corporations to develop new behavior change programs that will help employees and patients internalize the value of taking better care of themselves. And the hook, and we should be shouting this at the mountaintop around the world. The hook to have people sleep more, be more active, change their diet is how they feel in the moment and how they function. And people say, well, what about eating? When I eat a cookie, I feel better. Well, that's one type of feeling, but another type of feeling has to do with energy level and then how you focus and feel after you're done eating what you eat. And I think so even with that, and research shows even with smoking cessation, when you help people become aware of how they feel when they smoke, it actually helps them better quit than more traditional smoking cessation programs. So I think we're in the beginning of a new trend in health promotion where we're going to be shifting the hook for our end users, whether they're clients with personal trainers, members of a gym, patients in a health system. We are in the process of shifting how we communicate and how we engage the end user. And it's all about it's what marketers do. And unfortunately, it's taken us a lot of years to figure out that, wow, we need to be doing the same thing they are, but we're starting to do it. So it's a very exciting time in the field, I think.
Michelle, we would love to keep in touch with you. So can you let us know when that research is released? And Tribe, you can sign up to Michelle's newsletter on her website so that you can access all of that information and much, much more. Now, I've heard a little rumor. Michelle, you can tell me if this is true or not. I've heard that you are coming to Australia next year. Is that true?
That is the plan. Yes.
That's very exciting. Where are you going to be?
Our plan, well, we're coming to Melbourne, and my husband and I have never been to Australia, so this is a brand new experience for us. We're planning to be there for 4 to 5 months, and we don't have any specific plans other than knowing we're coming to Melbourne. So I will keep you in the loop as we progress with that.
Oh, that sounds brilliant. Well, we'll have to get you to Sydney at some stage when you're in the country. That's fantastic. We look forward to welcoming you with our open arms.
Thank you.
Now, Michelle, one of the other things that we've heard about is that you've developed a comprehensive quiz to help people understand their own motivation profile. Do you want to delve into that and tell us a little bit more?
Yes. So I think one of the biggest problems is that when we've asked people to think about starting to exercise again, we just ask them to do it. And people get motivated at New Year's and when the weather changes and they're going to be in their swimsuits. But a big part of creating a sustainable behavior change is raising awareness about what we've done in the past, whether it's worked or not, and why. And so I developed this quiz to help people. It's free on my website. There's a quiz part of the menu. And, unfortunately, I'm an educator. So I don't want to just give people a couple of sentences. I really want to give people enough information that they can run with things. So it's a very comprehensive output about what the score means and next steps that people can take. If they have low quality motivation, the quiz guides them to things that they can change very concretely to convert that into high quality motivation. If people take it and already have high quality motivation, the output suggests other things they can do to enhance the quality of what they're doing, as well as their own sense of comfort and skill set with prioritizing their own self-care.
Okay, so in this particular case, it's all about our own motivation. Just so that I understand, could we use that same quiz with our clients, or is this just for ourselves?
Well, the quiz is directed toward the individual. You could ask your client to take the quiz.
Right.
And then the client gets the output and you could review it with them. And especially if people have read No Sweat, they're going to really have some key information that's going to help the individuals. And, something that people could do also that actually I never thought of before this minute, if a personal trainer is working with a client and the client is taking the quiz, they could actually print out their answers before they submit it. So they can actually show their answers to their personal trainer. Again, the professional's got to be educated in the approach and the method that I teach in No Sweat. But yes, it could be used for clients. The client just has to take it themselves.
Yeah, I like that. Talk to me around this train the trainer concept.
Well, I've been getting just a lot of emails from people saying to me, Michelle, and their personal trainers and their nurses and their educators and their physicians, we want to know how to deliver this intervention. We can read your book and we can ask our patients or our clients the questions, but we don't really have the big picture of how to deliver the whole kit and caboodle to our end users. And so I have decided that I'm developing a train the trainer, and I haven't started it yet. So I want people to know that, but I am taking names of people who want to be alerted. If people sign up for my newsletter, then they will be alerted. But if they want to be on a specific list to be alerted when the train the trainer is ready to deliver, then they should, either through you or through my website, send me an email or contact that says, please put me on your train the trainer list. And why? Because it's always helpful to know why. I spent so many years developing this program that I explain in detail on No Sweat and delivered it. So it's a very systematic process that it's a shame that there aren't a ton of people in the world who can deliver it in their own professional paths. And so I have decided to do that.
Oh, that sounds sensational. So I'm sure, once again, that's something that will be of great interest to a number of our tribes. So we will get onto that. We might have a bit of a offline discussion about how we can either send names through to you or we can collect names and send them through to you. Sounds really good. Okay, we're going to go slightly, not off track, but we're just going to change tact a little bit because, as you'd be aware, being so entrenched in everything health and fitness, the whole topic around activity trackers, devices is huge at the moment. It's, everywhere you turn, someone's talking about the latest activity tracker. What's your thoughts around those?
I think activity trackers are tools that can be helpful if they are designed with the right science. And there's been a lot of science focused on habit formation and logistical issues, but it doesn't address the science of motivation, which is about feeling and functioning. So if an activity tracker gives people counts and people like to look at graphs, that is very motivating, I would say, to a small segment of people. The novelty factor is huge. So when most people decide to get a tracker, they're very excited and they use it, but novelty wears off, just like it did with the Nordic track, just like it did with Jane Fonda videos. It's a tool. But what we need to do with these, we need to make sure that activity trackers actually engage people, not just in counting. In fact, a study came out in the last year showing that counting actually decreases people's enjoyment of being physically active. What a bummer is that, when enjoyment is such a huge predictor of adherence over time and long-term participation. So we need to understand that it's and the word just is in caps. It's just a tool. It can be very helpful if it helps people become aware of the things that are actually going to hook them on exercise. Again, for a small population of people, and most of the people I actually know who are truly hooked on them are researchers, which isn't surprising. Now, maybe, you, Chantel, know a lot of other people who are hooked on them, but we can design algorithms based on the core science of motivation and decision-making. And I do think that companies are starting to pivot and acknowledge this. I'm talking to some of these companies, but more need to do so. We need to convert activity trackers from ticks to feelings and to joy and to awareness that people function better when they're active.
So do you think in the next couple of years we will see this technology come out with those elements that you talked about, with those things integrated into them?
Yes, I do.
Well, that's pretty exciting to consider the effect that can have for fitness business professionals and, I guess, trainer-client relationships. So, Michelle, in your book, No Sweat, you talk a lot around behaviour. Do you want to talk to us about which part of sustainable behaviour change is actually the toughest to achieve when it comes to fitness?
Well, it's interesting that we're kind of ending on a question that relates to the beginning of my career path. And it's the idea that, so let me say two things about this. In my behavior change methodology, there's this motivation component where we want to help people, our clients, convert exercise from a chore, something they should do, something they really don't like doing, into a gift, something that feels good and fuels who they are. That's the motivation component. And that actually, if you follow the method in No Sweat, I've been absolutely, and I don't say this lightly, flabbergasted by how these conversations and questions convert people quickly, just in a couple weeks, from exercise being a chore to a gift. Mm-hmm. The other component of sustainable behavior change, besides the learning component, which I don't think we'll go into today, is the prioritization of self-care. So let's say I had a client and she hated exercise when we started. She loved it at the end. So she converted exercise from a chore to a gift, which is what happens when you go through the method. But think about this. I love going to the movies. How many years has it been? A movie is a gift to me. Mm-hmm. So just because something is a gift and I view it in that way doesn't mean I'm going to prioritize it on my to-do list. Yep. So that's a completely different topic. And what I found over the years is that that's the tough nut to crack. Motivation is, honestly, I say this, I knowing people are going to roll their eyes. I have found motivation is a snap to change systematically. The prioritization of self-care takes more work. And the reason it takes more work is because what we prioritize every day, we've learned from society since we were born, from what our parents did, what we're rewarded for. And I think the trend is shifting because I think we're seeing and we'll see more in the future data showing that when people take better care of themselves through things like physical activity and fitness, they are healthier, they're more engaged, they spend less healthcare dollars, they're more productive at work, they're more creative, they're more innovative. So I think society is in the very beginning. I mean, we're talking about a giant world pivoting into a new framework. Once society starts to recognize that helping people prioritize their own self-care and making sure that policies are in place in the workplace, in healthcare, in schools that allow people to prioritize their own self-care, it will be easier for people to do. So right now, pretty much the onus is on us fitness, wellness, healthcare professionals to help people individually understand that when they take better care of themselves through physical activity, and we don't want to burden them with too many at a time. We want to be sequential and help people pick the right self-care behavior to start with. And it's different for everyone. Remember, you one of the first questions you asked me was, what is a habit that helps me be successful? Mm-hmm. I know without a doubt that sleep. We need to help people identify what is your foundational self-care behavior so that they will start feeling comfortable with, learning the benefits of, and developing the skill set for prioritizing that self-care behavior. And then once they recognize that it actually helps them with the things that are truly their priorities, their family, their profession, their volunteer work, whatever it is, then they can legitimately say to themselves, not only do I feel good from taking that 40-minute walk or 15-minute walk, but I've recognized and learned that it does help me be a better partner, parent, and professional. And that's where we want to help people get to. And that's what has driven my career.
Michelle, listening to you talk about all of that and not that I ever doubted at any second, but it reminds me of just how important our role is as fitness industry professionals to helping others. You've just summarized just how important that is. And I think it's something that we should never forget.
Well, we do have an important role to play. And I think the more we understand the profundity of the role, the more effective we can be.
Absolutely. Michelle, I've got three, let's call it one big question, 3 parts to leave us with today. I would love you to leave us with your very best Fitbispiration and tell us your top 3 tips that our tribe can go out and action off the back of our chat today.
Well, again, you've asked me a very hard question, Chantal. I think something that would be very helpful for people and also very interesting is for people to ask, whether it's clients, their partners, people on the street they meet, especially people who are regularly active, why do you do it? And then when people give you an answer, ask them, is that what makes you decide to do it on a daily basis or on a regular basis? And really, it's kind of becoming an anthropologist. So that's one tip, is to become really curious about your end user or just people in general and physical activity and the reasons why. And if you ask people who are not physically active why they exercise, almost everyone's going to tell you that they do it to lose weight or for better health. And that's a key. When the people who are not active tell you that, that's a key, that those are actually not very effective reasons. When I first asked my husband that question when we were dating, why do you exercise? And he said, for health, to prevent the heart attack that my dad had. But when I said to him, when I changed the question and I said, is that why you get up every morning, decide to set your alarm early to exercise? Oh no, I feel terrible if I don't. So we want to understand the difference between how people have been socialized or educated to think about exercising as a weight control, health-related behavior, and truly what gets regular exercisers motivated day in and day out to decide to prioritize the time for that activity. And so I think that's really important. The second thing I would say is to ask people to question the assumptions that they have about how to help people become more physically active, how to help clients embrace physical activity and engage with it, and ask themselves whether these ideas and beliefs have actually led to long-term success or whether they don't know. Maybe it leads people to start working with them, but not continue. So I'm asking people to become very aware of the beliefs that have been guiding their practice and whether they've actually helped them and helped their clients. And I don't know the answer to that. Everyone has to figure it out for themselves. And I think the third component is just to ask people to consider where they want to go with their work and what they've done, what it's given to them, what they've accomplished, and what's next. Because I think part of being the best professional possible is making sure that we fuel and feed ourselves as individuals. And so those are the three things that I would like to leave the listeners with. And they're not easy things, but I think they're important.
Michelle, the second one that you mentioned there when you said, question the assumptions that we have, it reminded me of when I first read No Sweat. And I think I said this to you in our first interview because as fitness professionals, we have a mindset of loving exercise and really not understanding, I truly believe, really not understanding what it's like to not love exercise, and that was my biggest takeaway from your book is that we need to understand that not everyone feels the same way about exercises as we might necessarily. So I think your point on questioning assumptions is so important for us.
I just want to add one thing. I don't know in Australia if people, and I guess it depends how old people are, but there's a really wonderful movie star in the United States, Alan Alda.
Oh, yeah.
And he's become very interested in how to help healthcare professionals better communicate to patients, how to help scientists better communicate to the general public. And he talks about, and maybe he's referring to a concept that someone else has come up with, but I think it's brilliant. And it's the idea that we're cursed, the curse of knowledge. So if you are a fitness professional, most likely you do like exercise. You do appreciate what it does for your body, for yourself, for your life. You have the curse of fitness, we could call it. So because you are coming into the conversation most likely with someone who doesn't embody the same beliefs, experiences as you. So what we need to do is understand that we're coming into the conversation with this bias. He calls it a curse, but it's a bias. And we have to understand that we can only truly help people if we can get out of our own experience and understand where others are coming from. And I'm sure most of your listeners understand this, but what you said is so poignant. We do have to understand that we are not our clients. And if we come at them from the same perspective and wants and likes, we will not connect with them in the way they need to be connected with.
Yeah, so well said. I might be showing my age here. Was Alan older in MASH?
Yes.
I am showing my age now. Michelle, look, I just want to say thank you so much. I was absolutely thrilled when you agreed to come back on the show because, our tribe loved your first interview. You have a phenomenal book in No Sweat. It is just so highly relevant to all of us in the fitness industry. So I want to thank you once again for taking the time to share your knowledge with us. I am so excited that you're going to be coming to Australia, and I hope we have the opportunity to meet up, and we definitely would love to stay in touch with you and hear more about your projects as the year progresses.
Thank you. I'd love to too.
Thanks so much, Michelle.
The Fitness Business Podcast is very appreciative of our podcast partners. Here's a quick word from one of our partners.
As you know, our goal at the Fitness Business Podcast is to help you grow your fitness business. So I love it when I can tell you about new products, programs, and solutions to help you do just that. Our show would not be possible without the support of our sponsors. And one of those awesome sponsors is Visual Fitness Planner. But before I tell you more about them, let me ask you these questions. What is your membership closing percentages? What percentage of your members at the point of sale sign up for a complimentary orientation session? What percentage of your new members actually show up for their complimentary orientation session? And most importantly, what percentage of your membership buys personal training? These are the numbers that you have to be asking yourself and measuring every single day. As the old saying goes, if you're not measuring your numbers, you're not managing your numbers. A club's set show close numbers are significantly improved because of the Visual Fitness Planner. The VFP provides a turnkey system for marketing, capturing, and integrating new members into a healthy lifestyle change. The VFP automates your existing sales, marketing, and orientation systems with the power of its visually impacting technology. VFP calculates a person's health risks for diseases. It predicts their health age. It creates a before and after 3D image of their body and calculates how long it will take to achieve their goals. And in this process, increases your membership and personal training sales and overall member retention. To check out more about the VFP, head over to their website at myvfp.com.au. And of course, a copy of that website link is in today's show notes.
It's time for the Fitness Business Podcast Wrap.
Here are my top takeaways from this week's show. The hook to getting people to move more, sleep better, and change their diet is to help them become aware of how they feel in that moment. When it comes to activity trackers, we should be thinking about designing algorithms based on the core science of motivation and decision making, rather than just numbers. And the future, we're going to see this. Michelle believes that we will see activity trackers progress from just ticks and numbers to feelings and enjoyment. And it's up to the fitness and health industry to help people understand that when they take better care of themselves through physical activity, they will start learning the benefits of and developing the skill set for prioritizing self-care behavior. Tribe, since our Q&A show a few weeks ago, we've had even more questions come in. So I want to first of all just say thank you for that. It's awesome. I definitely want to try and answer all of them. So if you did send in a question, make sure you listen out over the coming weeks because we're definitely going to try and get them all answered on the show. Starting with this one from Daisha Enos from Arizona in the USA. And Danisha asked, I'm seriously considering opening a teen-only fitness studio that offers a variety of group exercise classes. Am I crazy to limit my target audience to just teenagers? Well, Daisha, I asked JT this question for you, and this is what he said. I'm a huge fan of having a specific market and then offering a product that suits their needs. So on the surface, I'd suggest, Daisha, this is a great concept. My main concern would be who will use the studio while the teenagers are at school, and therefore, how do you pay the rent? I heard that the goldfish now has an attention span longer than the average adult. So I'd hate to think what the attention span of a teenager would be like these days. This means your programming for teenagers will need to be dynamic. I would suggest 2 ideas. Number 1, instead of opening a studio, how about hiring a hall or even going to the school and perhaps offering fitness classes as an after-school activity? And number 2, perhaps check out Tribe Team Training as they have a kids program, and that will make programming simpler for you. Hope this helps. I want to say thank you so much to Daisha for your question, and thank you to JT for stepping in and answering this week. Like I said before, we love to get your questions, so remember that you can actually email me at any time. Just go over to fitnessbusinesspodcast.com and hit on the button that is top right of the screen that says Ask Your Question Here. And don't forget, while you're on the site, you can subscribe to the show notes. That way, you're never going to miss a key takeaway or an important link from each week of the shows. Now, to celebrate our 1-year birthday, our friends at Active Management are giving every single one of you a free business resource download valued at $100. To get your gift, go over to fitnessbusinesspodcast.com/active. You can choose from one of 4 resources. Don't miss out. Jump on today. Once again, that's fitnessbusinesspodcast.com/active. Before I say goodbye for today, don't forget to tune in to next week's show when we're going to be chatting to our 4 most downloaded guests from the last 12 months. Still to come, Casey Conrad, Tim Keatley, and Bill McBride. Thanks for joining me for another week of the Fitness Business Podcast. And remember, what you leave behind is not what's engraved in stone monuments, but what is woven into the lives of others.
Great show this week that you should be suffering DOMs, delayed onset mind soreness, as you are overloaded and that's when your mind is strengthened. You and your business have been strengthened thanks to the amazing support of our premier sponsor, Active Management. Check out www.activemgmt.com.au only if you want to strengthen your business and your leadership. Don't forget all today's links and notes are found at www.fitnessbusinesspodcast.com, where you can also subscribe and never miss a show and maybe win a prize. Next week is another incredible guest with Chantal, so get ready for more Fit Bizpiration.